ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Tuesday, March 19th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Thanks for being a part of today's show. We'll open up our text line in just a few minutes at 304-396-TALK. 304-396-8255. Coming up today, I'm going to hear from Dickey Martin in just a few minutes. Dickey, the voice of the Ashland Tomcats. The Tomcats making it to the Sweet 16. Our coverage begins tomorrow, 1 o'clock, with the Tomcats here on our sister station, Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. Looking forward to it. Ashland's taking on Lyon County. Should be a good matchup. Lyon County, a really good school. So this should be, I'm thinking this one's maybe a coin flip. That's how good these two teams are. Dickey's going to break it down for us in just a few minutes, and we look forward to talking to him. And, of course, the rest of the way, we'll keep the text line open text line throughout the show. We'll talk a little bit about what you want to talk about today. Yesterday, we talked about the transfer portal and how it is impacting the Thundering Herd. Now 4 players gone from the Marshall roster due to the transfer portal. I don't know if it's devastating. Pete Moe, I'll miss the potential. Don't know if that's a devastating loss or not, but Pete Moe is gone. Americ Toussaint is gone. Again, I don't know how devastating that is, but you hate to see it happen. Chase McKee going to the transfer portal, and then Cameron Crawford garnering some attention, including schools and the Sun Belt looking at him. So he's going to get some attention. Cam Crawford probably the higher profile of those names that I mentioned and on top of all the players that have exhausted their eligibility. The good news is you still have a few players left, including Obina and Achille Killen. And the reason why I mentioned Obina's name is he's getting a little bit more recognition today for his efforts on the basketball court. It's very difficult to get attention when you're at a mid-major. You have to be extremely talented. You have to be extremely well-regarded. You have to make a name for yourself as hard as you can, as best you can, for, well, others to notice you, especially in a mid-major conference like the Sun Belt. Well, good news, somebody noticed. Obina and Achille Killen named to the National Association of Basketball Coaches All-District 23 second team today. You look at why he made the list, well, almost 15 points, 14.4 contest, almost 6 rebounds a game, 33 blocks this season. Shot 44.4% from the field, 32.6% from the arc. And I know a lot of you would like him to stop doing that. He's not Steph Curry, so stop doing that, and I get it. I like that he has it in his repertoire. I don't know if I want him going to it very often. I kind of like to see him hang back more in the paint. I'd like to see Nate Martin. I'd like to see Obina hang back more in the paint, be more effective there. Try to avoid mismatches with those guys. And hopefully we're going to see some interesting developments with the roster because Marshall's got 8 guys that are gone now. Again, either exhausting eligibility or just leaving for the transfer portal. But there is some good news for the Marshall basketball team today, so we definitely want to acknowledge the efforts of Obina and Achille Killen. He's been a pretty good one for the Thundering Herd. I think we all would agree with that. And that leads us to our text line. That's 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255 already. Text line's opening up. Texter says, Paul, the portal is not the problem. That NIL is. How much did Andrew Taylor get by transferring? How much does Marshall have in the pot for its entire NIL payments? The whole world of college sports has been turned upside down by the portal and name, image, and likeness. And quite simply, Marshall and other mid-level athletic programs are out of the loop. And go Herd. I appreciate that text. Look, just today we found out that Clemson is suing the ACC because of the grant of rights, the lockdown that the ACC had every member institute sign So you have Florida State that's suing. They're looking to get out. And then you have Clemson now. They're suing because they're looking to get out. And no one's really going to touch them until they can clean all of this up. I mean, the Sun Belt took Marshall and Southern Miss and Old Dominion out of the Conference USA debacle. And Marshall and those other two institutions were able to work the deal to get out. It was pretty good how Marshall and those other two institutions were able to find a way just to get out of the deal early. And now we're not talking about ACC level lockdown here. This was the Sun Belt, not, in my mind, the most well-run organization in college athletics. And that's just not sour grapes. That's not me throwing salt in the wound. It's just a matter of fact. There's not that much money there. It's understaffed. It's not that powerful of an organization. And the Sun Belt's better. But Marshall was able to get out of its conference deal. There wasn't really much there to lock it down. Clemson, on the other hand, it's trying to shop itself and get out because, of course, you get the news today that ESPN extending its deal with the college football playoff. So basically, the playoffs are going to be owned by ESPN well into the next decade. It's going to be a long time before those rights come up again. And Marshall hoping to get one day in that playoff. Outside shot looking in the way it's set up right now, but at least there's a better shot for a team like Marshall. Maybe one day get in. This thing is expanding. It might expand again, and ESPN's going to be right there every step of the way, including using ABC as a platform as well. The multicast, you remember the mega cast that they do? It's a big deal. There's a lot of money being generated. And, of course, the lion's share of the money is going to the Big Ten and the SEC. And the ACC is falling behind. So Clemson wants to expand its revenue. Best way to do that is to get the heck out of the ACC. And if the ACC loses Clemson and loses Florida State, North Carolina might follow. Because after those two programs, which program would you covet most? And that would be North Carolina. Duke's great in basketball, not a football school. This is not a football league compared to its peers. It's better in basketball. And I love basketball. And we all do. But all of these moves are being made for one reason and one reason only, and that is football. Because football is what stirs the drink. It's what generates the most revenue. And that's why football is the main driver of any of these conversations. Of course, basketball definitely needs to fortify itself. And I think basketball is in good shape. But with the way these conferences are being realigned, I mean, you might get lucky and be in a situation like the Sun Belt where geographically it makes sense. It's a better situation than what some of the other leagues are. But there's also a huge revenue disparity between the bigger leagues and, of course, even the other so-called power leagues. The ACC might be the next one to kind of fall apart. I think the Big 12 is in good shape, believe it or not. That was a league I thought would be ripe for the taking, and the Pac-12 just didn't do it. The ACC stayed firm, didn't do much, whereas the Big Ten and the SEC, always proactive, always looking forward. Eventually, we're just going to get to a point where we're going to have – this might be an NFL model here. We just should have the East Coast and the West Coast. Just have two big divisions, college football. Dickey Martin, on the other side of the break, we're going to talk about Ashland basketball, the Tomcats, and the Sweet 16. They're going to be at Rupp Arena tomorrow, taking on Lyon County, and we'll have that game for you starting at 1 o'clock on our sister station, Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. We'll hear from Dickey when we continue, and then we'll hear from you on our text line. That's 304-396-TALK. I'm your host, Paul Swann, on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Coming up tomorrow on our sister station, Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340, we're going to be live at the Kentucky Sweet 16 Boys Tournament as Ashland will face off against Lyon County, 1 o'clock airtime. And the voice of the Ashland Tomcats now joins me, Dickey Martin. He'll have the call. Back to the Sweet 16. Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm well. You're back at the Sweet 16 again. You're going to be courtside calling the game tomorrow. Where do they set you up exactly? Where do you sit exactly?
Tomorrow I will be in the second press row, almost midcourt.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's really good.
They take good care of me.
You've been there a long time.
I've been doing this a long time, and they know I'm coming, and they always take pretty good care of me, and so forth and so on, and I'm very appreciative of that. There you go.
When's the last time you actually missed a state tournament? Have you in a long time?
Not since 1961.
Okay. So since 1961, Dickey Martin has been a constant.
I've been going.
Yeah, that's with either Ashland
of course, I was
or...
just, I was just a, what do you call it? I was just a child back then because my dad was broadcasting the games. And that was the year, of course, the Tomcats had the greatest high school basketball team ever, in my humble opinion. Quick story. My dad, we won our first game down here, and my dad called home, and it was just me and my mother, and he said, Jeannie, you better pack him up, bring him down here because we're going to win this thing. And by God, he was right, and we did. And we walked through the tournament.
You haven't missed anything since. You've been there either as a...
I have not missed a state tournament since then. Of course, in the early days, I was just a spectator, and then I started broadcasting in the mid-'70s. That's where I am today.
And you've done different games as well. You haven't just done Ashland games. You've had a long history of doing different games.
I mean, obviously, I'll do the Ashland game tomorrow, but I'll also do a couple other games tomorrow evening and Thursday, and hopefully the Tomcats will be back at it Friday and Saturday. And yeah, I work the whole time. It's not a vacation. It's work.
You make it fun, though, and Dickey's going to have the game for us tomorrow.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you make it fun, and it's coming up tomorrow. A huge crowd expected, I'm sure. What do you think? We're going to shut down downtown tomorrow for the Tomcats for a few hours. Everyone's going to be in Lexington?
No. We'll have, we'll have a good. Of course, I let school out tomorrow, so a lot of the kids and parents and teachers and such can come. We'll have a good crowd, several thousand, I think. And, we'll have probably 10 or 12,000, maybe a little bit more than that because we're playing Lyon County. And, of course, Travis Perry's going to UK, so that's going to bring in a lot of people as well. So we may hit 14,000, 15,000 tomorrow, but that's why we play. We're going to tee it up and go after him, by golly.
Yeah, he's the Mr. Basketball winner, so we know he's good.
That's correct.
How good?
Yes, he's the king. He is King Kelly Coleman was our all-time leading scorer in the state of Kentucky. He held that record since the early 50s, and he scored over 5,000 points in his career for the Wayland Wasps down in the 15th region. And, of course, they're no longer in existence. But that career points has stood since 1951 or 52, somewhere in that neighborhood. And Travis started playing varsity basketball when he was in the 8th grade, and he surpassed it earlier this season. And he is now King Kelly. He is now the king of high school scoring in Kentucky.
That's a pretty big deal, and of course, Lyon County.
It is. Big deal.
Yeah, Lyon County is a good school. They're a good program. They're 32-3 this year.
Yes.
But I'm going to ask you, how good is that 32-3?
It's very good. They played a very good schedule. Not as difficult a schedule as Ashland has played. Ashland has played the most difficult schedule in the state according to the RPI, rating thing. But they're good. They come out of a region that's got some pretty good basketball and some pretty good teams. They've traveled the state and won their fair share, obviously. 32 out of 35 ain't bad. Last year they won 31 games. The year before that they won 28 or 29. And this is their third appearance in the state tournament, third straight. So they're familiar. If there was an edge that we could have had, it would have been that, of course, this is our sixth straight trip. And all our kids have been here. They know the ins. They know the outs. They're not, they're nervous. Don't get me wrong, but they're not scared of the big floor and the bright lights. And that's an advantage that we usually have, but we will not have that advantage tomorrow because Lyon County's been here, and last year they won a game like we did, and the year before they got beat in the first round. So they're good, but we beat them 2 years ago in the tournament, and it was basically the same team they have now. It's not the same team we have now, but if we play defense like we've been playing defense over the last, 5, 8, 10 games, we're going to give them a run for their money. I promise you that.
Dickey Martin's with us. He'll have the call of Ashland and Lyon County tomorrow, 1 o'clock on Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. You mentioned the bright lights and the big stage. Did that play into Ashland's advantage getting here over a team that had beaten the Tomcats already 3 times? And we joked last week when you were with us. Yeah, I said the 4th time was going to be the charm, and it was.
And it was. You're exactly right. And that's what it is. I mean, we play tough schedules, and we have, for years and years and years, but we play a tough schedule to get us ready for tournament time. John Calipari said, several weeks ago, this team is built for March, and that's what Ashland does. They build their team for March. And that's why we go all over the state and play. And we're going to lose some games. Yeah, we'll lose 8, 10 games. That's okay. But when you get down here, we play, the teams that we played, they're here. Great Crossing, we played them. They're the number 1 team in the state. We didn't beat them, but you never know. Next time you tee it up, we might be able to get them. And Campbell County is here, and McGoffin County is here, and all those teams that we played and lost to, most of them are here. So we know what's going on. We know what to expect, and that plays to our advantage. I think Lyon County hadn't played quite the toughest schedule that we have, but I think that's an advantage we'll have tomorrow.
My guest is Dickey Martin. He will be on the call for Ashland and Lyon County. That's coming up at 1 o'clock tomorrow on Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. You can also stream it on our website, catsports933.com. You can get the app. You can listen to it on your Amazon device. Dickey loves talking to Alexa.
There you go. Oh, yeah, I do. That's my favorite thing, of course, as you well know.
Yeah, I know it's your favorite thing. You love every single minute of it.
It is.
It's going to be a fun matchup. And, of course, if the Tomcats win, they'll play on Friday. If they win on Friday, you got possibility.
Same time, same channel, same bat channel.
Yeah, you get the possibility of playing 2 on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. We've done that for years in the state tournament. That's the way it's been. You play the semifinals earlier in the day and then come back with a championship on Saturday night. So that's the way it's always been done. A few years ago, they tried the Sunday afternoon thing, and that didn't work out at all because attendance was very, very poor. So they abandoned that.
So hopefully we'll have 4 games, and all of those, again, will be on Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. So we're looking forward to it. It's going to be fun tomorrow to see the Tomcats, once again at Rupp Arena as the other Cats are going to be getting ready for the NCAA tournament. I haven't talked to you. How you feel about them being the 3 seed taking on Oakland on Thursday?
Yeah, there you go. I don't know. We thought we'd beat St. Peter's last year too, and we got beat. So.
Yeah, but
I don't put much stock in Kentucky basketball.
Okay.
I mean, I like them, but
yeah, you love them, but you're not going to be the surprise. You're right.
Oh no, I wouldn't be shocked if they got beat on Thursday. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well, whatever the case may be, you can listen to the Wildcats after the Tomcats. Always
There you go.
on Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. So you're set up. You're going to have fun tomorrow. You're just
I will.
You're just going to be
I will.
camping out in Lexington for the next several days.
Yes, I am, but I'm enjoying it. As long as the good Lord puts a breath in me, I'm going to continue to do it, by golly. So there.
Do the Tomcats put you up? Do you have nice accommodations? You're going to be
Oh,
okay?
Lord, yes. My God, yes. Top of the line.
Top of the line? Okay.
Top of the line.
So you'll be taken good care
No
of,
problem,
and
no.
Bill Cornwell's going to be with you as well. So you're going to have the full house there.
Oh,
tomorrow.
yes.
The full. I thought we
It'll
banned
be a
him
good
from your
thing.
broadcast. By the way, you said you banned him from the broadcast. What happened there? How did you get back in your good graces?
Broadcast?
Yeah, you said that was. You said the last game was going to be his final appearance on Cat Sports.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I couldn't do that to Bill. He's too good a fella.
Okay.
He enjoys this stuff, and this is his element. You know, when he gets here to Rupp Arena tomorrow, he will be in his element. You know.
You know he's not a. I think he's the only person I know that tries to make being a Marshall fan and Kentucky fan at the same time work with the color code, with the green and blue. He tries.
You got that right.
I mean, he comes
It's
in
tough.
he comes in a mismatch, man. He'll have
Yeah, he does.
Kelly Green something on with blue.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping he'll be better color coordinated tomorrow.
Well, you better wear a little maroon tomorrow because it's Tomcat Day.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, pal.
I'll talk to you tomorrow. It'll be 1 o'clock on Cat Sports and 93.3 and
got it.
1340. We'll talk to you soon, Dickey.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, buddy. Thanks, Paul.
There you have it. The voice of the Ashland Tomcats, Dickey Martin. Should be a good one tomorrow. And again, if you want to listen to that game, you can listen to it on our stream. All you have to do is go to our website, catsports933.com. We've got the link right there. You can also download the app, take it on your phone, or you can do it the old-fashioned way. Well, my favorite way is pull out your radio, and you can listen to it on either 93.3 FM or 1340 AM. That's Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. We'll get to the text line when we continue, and we'll talk more about what's happening this week with the Thundering Herd. A lot of things happening and some different other sports. Women's basketball, not the only thing happening. Of course, we'll do that when we continue on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're heading back to our text line, 304-396-TALK. That's 304-396-8255. Back to the text line we go. Texter says, Paul, the good news is that the men's basketball roster has a chance to be nearly completely rebuilt. The bad news is that Dan D'Antoni's recent history is to have a lot of players who are not really D1 quality. Thanks, Texter. I appreciate that. It is going to be completely rebuilt. That is for sure. That's completely the truth. It has to be rebuilt. You lost 8 players. 4 to the transfer portal, 4 to exhausting eligibility. Don't know if you're going to have any other defections, leaving, whatever you want to call it. But yes, there's an opportunity there to fill some voids and to maybe make this team better than it was last year. How do you do that? You hit the transfer portal, try to address some of your needs. You also still can and should recruit. You have to do both. That's the name of the game now. You have to be able to recruit as many high school kids as you possibly can that can come in and make an impact at the same time. You have to go out and you have to fill needs, and you're going to have to find some of the better players that are out there that, for whatever reason, are not staying with their current school. And some of it could be they're not getting a fair shake. Some of it could be wasn't the right fit. Coach could be leaving. Maybe academically, where they're at now, isn't it where they want to be? They want to go somewhere else. Maybe Marshall has a program that has attracted them. There are so many reasons why, and that's not important. The only thing that is important here is that you go through the transfer portal and you do your due diligence and you bring in the best possible talent you can that will fit. You want to bring in good student athletes. That's key. And how do you do that? Well, you got to work the portal. You got to research. You got to scout. You have to do all of that. And that's why they built a machine almost for the football program, because the program now realizes that you have to be good at the transfer portal. You have to be able to adapt to the changing landscape. And you've seen that with football. In basketball, you were able to see with the women's team, the core remain, and Kim Caldwell was able to go out and bring some additions in. She's a first-year Division I head coach. She's had success, so she has a reputation. She has a pedigree. She's got some swagger to her. And she has the ability to go out and work the transfer portal and bring players in because she's adapted to it. It probably isn't something she had to adapt to it. It's just something that has been part of the deal ever since she's been a coach. And so you're going to have to do that. It doesn't matter the sport. This isn't a basketball-only thing. You have to be able to identify the best players you can possibly get to recruit and bring in from high school, and you're also going to have to identify the best possible players in the transfer portal. We've talked about this before. We'll talk about it again. It has to happen. This is what you need to do. This is the new landscape right now. It's not necessarily the looking at the 4 stars and the 5 stars from high school and looking at all those recruiting services there. I mean, you're absolutely going to have to continue on following the careers of kids. And when someone pops in the transfer portal, you got to find out why they're there and what can they do for you. Do they make you better? And if they don't make you better, then you look elsewhere. I mean, that's my thought. If you go after someone in the transfer portal, how much better do they make you? And if this program can't adapt to that, others will, and Marshall's going to be left behind. And you don't want to see that. You want to see Marshall be as competitive as possible in the Sun Belt. And this isn't shade on the Sun Belt, but if Marshall can put it together, this is a league that you could have success in and maybe be contending for that championship on a yearly basis if you put it together. It's totally open right now. Why? Because it's not as good of a basketball league than it is a football league, and that's fair to say. And right now, James Madison, for the most part, is going to have its run of this league, and probably App State's going to be there, and maybe Troy, and you know what? There might be a couple others. Old Dominion gets it put together. Marshall's going to have to put it together. And that doesn't mean just working the transfer portal. That means improving facilities, improving programs, improving everything. You're going to have to rebuild or build up what you have and tear down what doesn't work to be competitive, because you're not going to have the resources. As one texter wrote in and said, look, it's not necessarily the transfer portal. It's NIL. And where's that money coming from? Who's footing that bill? Where is that money coming from? And speaking of name, image, and likeness, I know Marshall's putting something together that's going to be at I believe it's going to be at the Cam Henderson Center. And it's going to be an opportunity for businesses and people that are able to participate in such things, find out how name, image, and likeness benefits. Yeah, here it is. Marshall will have an NIL event on the 25th, and it's going to be a panel discussion. It's going to be a workshop. It's going to be 6:30 p.m. at the Cam Henderson Center, so you can head over to herdzone.com. If that's something that interests you, you can sign up for it. And it's a workshop, according to the release that went out, for all business owners interested in learning about the inner workings of name, image, and likeness and its impact on both businesses and Marshall athletics. how will NIL benefit you? So you can sign up. That's Overheard Zone. I'll let you discover all the details. If that's something that you're interested in, you can find out more there. Is that something as a supporter of Marshall University? Are you interested in name, image, and likeness, partnering up? Instead of maybe giving a donation to the university, you instead might be more interested in benefiting from name, image, and likeness by partnering with the university or partnering with these student athletes to try to put together some sort of package. You never know. It might work for you. Back to our text line, 304-396-TALK. Texter says, Paul, do we know how much success our portal departed athletes have realized? Case in point, for whatever reason, Andy Taylor left. I'm sure he expected more playing time than he got. What about others? Jansen Williams, Jared West. The grass is not always greener on the other side. You're exactly right. Andy Taylor was off the team by, December? Jansen had some success and nothing that rivaled what he did at Marshall. Jared West, he wanted to play Division I basketball at a higher level. He got that opportunity. Now, Jared's one of those rare exceptions where he had the opportunity, with that graduate year. He had the opportunity to go play somewhere else, and it didn't ultimately turn into a huge bump for him. I'm sure he had professional aspirations, but he wanted to do that. And sometimes kids just want to have that opportunity. It's not necessarily name, image, and likeness. It's I want that opportunity. I want to go somewhere, finish out. I committed to Marshall. I finished what my obligation was, and then now I'm going to go here for that final year that I have, and I'm going to take a shot and see what I can do. Yeah, for Andy, Dan misses him. He could have been a big part of this offense. He could have been a big part. And I think what's missing sometimes for a lot of these kids is that if you stay and have a good year and then build upon that, by the time it's over with, you could be a pretty big deal here. You could also, if you're good enough, you'll generate that attention. It's going to be harder, but at the same time, you're not going to be in a sea of others just like you. You're going to have an opportunity to maybe stand out, shine a little brighter at Marshall than you would, say, I don't know, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Alabama, wherever you decide to go, right? Tavion Kinsey, for example, he was able to shine brighter. Why was he able to shine brighter? Because he's talented, and he stayed. He's beloved now at Marshall. People love this kid. And he has an opportunity to have hopefully a fruitful career at the next level. He has that opportunity. He's making opportunities for himself. And he didn't go hop somewhere else and go, you know what? I'm going to go leave and I'm going to go somewhere else because I'm going to try to elevate my game. And he stayed at Marshall. His case is different than Andrew Taylor's. But the grass not necessarily is greener. And sometimes kids leave because, the writing's on the wall. They're not going to get an opportunity. Case in point, Chase McKee. He averaged 8 minutes a contest. Played in 5 games. 5 games, 8 minutes a contest. He might have saw the writing on the wall. I'm not going to get an opportunity here as much as I like it here. I'm going to put myself in the transfer portal, maybe find a situation where I can go and I'll have more of an opportunity to play. That is the reason why some of these kids will leave. They're not getting the opportunity. Either they can't crack the starting lineup, they can't crack the roster, or they feel like they're not getting a fair shake, and I can go on and on and on. You get the point. There are many reasons why. But if you're not getting playing time and you want to play and there's an opportunity, you might have to drop down a level. That has happened. You might have to drop down. You might have to go somewhere else that's, maybe not a higher level. And sometimes you have kids that do well for the first couple of seasons and then they transfer because they've kind of built themselves up and built a name for themselves and shown that they can excel. And so they want to go somewhere else and maybe finish it out. Always got to re-recruit. Got to recruit high school. You got to recruit the portal. You got to recruit your team. You got to do all of this. When you recruit high school, why is Marshall good for you? Let me tell you why. When you recruit the portal, here's why it's better for you here at Marshall than it is where you're at now or you were and all these other schools. Let me tell you why. The kids that you have here, okay, here's why you might not find the success elsewhere, or here's what we're trying to do. We want you to be a part of it, whatever your recruiting pitch may be. And I'm sure others have better recruiting pitches than I do, and I will leave that to them. But you have to honestly look at the program and think, how do I keep this thing moving forward? How do I replenish? How do I build a consistent team? Because every year, team's going to be young. Team's going to be put together for the first time. You're going to have to build that chemistry. There's so many things that are going to change the dynamic of what you're used to. And other programs are going through the same thing. It's not exclusive to Marshall. Marshall won't be the only program that will be depleted because of the transfer portal. Marshall won't be the only program that is expecting the player to be on the roster and that player decided to leave. Marshall won't be the only program that has young, untested talent. Everyone's got it. It's how you put it together. We'll keep the text line open this hour. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Thanks for the text today. More coming up on today's edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back. Our final segment here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. We'll keep the text line open for a few more minutes at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We've got a busy week of sports coming up. Thundering Herd on the road taking on Virginia Tech in the NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament. That game will be right here Friday. We got it for you, 3:15 airtime. Steve Cotton, the voice of the Herd, will have all the play-by-play action here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. And, of course, the team leaving tomorrow, I believe, about 2:45 p.m. for their journey to Blacksburg. Hopefully, Marshall gets the win. That'll free up a lot of tickets for the next round, and Herd fans will snap all of those up. So if you can't go, you can't leave work early, you can't watch it, no matter whatever the case may be, we got you covered. It's right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Bengals news today. Cincinnati Bengals signing unrestricted free agent offensive tackle Trent Brown to a one-year contract. So keep this in mind. The Bengals now have not one, but two offensive tackles with the last name of Brown. You have Trent Brown and now Orlando Brown Jr. as a unit. So if you can't beat the Browns, I guess you got to go get some Browns of your own, and they've got two today. Mr. Burrow hopefully will be upright a lot more in the upcoming season. Back to our text line, and that number is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter says, Paul, maybe Mike D'Antoni could help a little bit with NIL or actually come back to Huntington for maybe once in a while for his brothers and his alma mater, his basketball team, since he's only an NBA advisor. I don't know what his schedule is. I get it. I think a lot of people would like to have him come back. I don't know in what capacity he could come, what his day-to-day looks like, but I'm sure he could find a way to get back to a game or two. And honestly, I don't know what his schedule is, and I don't know how much he talks to Dan or others of the program. I'm sure it's a lot. We just don't see it. So I can't throw too much salt there. But, yeah, I get it. I like to see him back as well. We like Mike. We like Dan. We like the D'Antoni family. We like them. Everybody likes them. That's not the issue. I think the issue is there are a lot of fans who are just upset with the direction of the program and feel that maybe, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. This is not me talking, but I'm not speaking out of turn. You know, a lot of you have expressed your concern that, man, maybe the program's just not going anywhere, and it's time to bring in someone that's a lot younger and that can navigate some of the new and challenging difficulties that is college basketball today. I think that's fair to say. You know, I think that sums up what you've been saying to me about what you feel is wrong with Marshall basketball. And of course, again, Dan D'Antoni has forgotten more about basketball than I'll ever know. I'm not the guy that's going to tell him what to do on the court. I don't have that right. I haven't earned that. It doesn't feel good for me to say, hey, you know, maybe Dan should do this. Maybe Dan should change it up this way. No, not my wheelhouse. I have no grounds whatsoever to tell Coach how to do his job. But I think we can talk about how the program has been moving. And 13-20 is not going to do it. 13-20 is not going to do it. Competing for championships, that'll do it. That'll help. Competing for the regular season title. And, of course, we can always go with the argument. I mean, he is right in one regard that it doesn't matter what you do in the regular season as much as it does the tournament. You could win the regular season championship in the Sun Belt, and you could still find yourself not going to the NCAA tournament. That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for tuning in here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. I'll be back with you tomorrow